In this video, you're going to be watching me interview a man by the name of Leigh Woolard, who, using the power of his mind, beat terminal bone cancer. In this interview, we talk all about Leigh's story, from getting his terminal cancer diagnosis, finding and working with the legendary Bob Proctor, to using the 5-step process Bob taught him that we'll be sharing with you in order to beat and put his terminal bone cancer into complete remission, as well as to transform every single area of his life. What we discuss in this video is life-changing. It's so incredible. I'm so excited to share it with you, and I'm so honored for the opportunity to not only interview Leigh, but to share the power of the mind and honor Bob Proctor, rest in peace, my friend, in the process. Enjoy. Okay, should be good. Okay, so yeah, first off, just want to maybe ask you some questions about your experience, because I look at you as like the coolest case study Bob Proctor ever had. And
Thank you.
maybe there are other people similar to yourself that he helped, accomplish a similar outcome. But when I heard your story, Leigh, it gave me so much conviction in what I'm doing in the world, because my goal is to be, or my vision is to be, Bob Proctor's successor. And so to hear that it's even in the realm of possibility to support people in what obviously you experienced, yeah, it was really eye-opening and inspiring for me. So I'd love to maybe just have you share a bit about like who you are, what your story is, and
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. So I'll go back over probably what I've said to you before, but I got introduced to Bob. Well, I'd found out that I had bone cancer on the morning of my twin boy's 10th birthday, and the events that sort of led up to that were I've been training. I was doing F45, the hit training, and was doing a push up and kind of collapsed when I was doing it, but didn't let anyone in the building know that something was wrong. And I could feel I've always been a bit stubborn, as people have told me, stubborn or determined, one of the two. I think it's determination. Anyway, I just thought maybe you're pushing too hard. Your body's just telling you pushing too hard, have a little bit of a rest, see what happens. And then I wasn't feeling great. I was getting this feeling through my shoulders and through my back, to the point where at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd go off for a walk around this field where I walk the dog. It's pitch black, and I'm exercising my arms to try and relieve this pain. And me being me, just kind of always went, get on with it. It's a cold, it's a virus, it's something. Just. Anyway, I went for a blood test, and they said you'll get your results. This was the Tuesday. You'll get your results on by Friday. That night, my phone rang. I didn't answer it. It was from a number I didn't recognize. And then I listened to the voice message, and it was the hospital saying, "We want you to come down now." So I rang them and said, "Look, I appreciate that you want to get me in straight away. When am I going to go in?" They were going to do a bone marrow where they go into your bone and take out blood. They said, "We found some anomalies. We want to run some more tests." I said, "When would I be?" "You'll be first up in the morning." I said, "Well, do you mind then if I come in the morning? I don't want to worry my family all night. I know what they're like." I went in the next morning, told my wife that I was just going in for, a blood test, and all would be fine. Anyway, went in, had the bone marrow done. The first one didn't quite work, so I had to have it done again, which was pleasurable. Um, and then I waited, I think, maybe 3 or 4 days for the results. And I still, even at this point, was like, it's some anomalies, I'll be fine. So this is the actual morning of our boy's birthday. And I said to my wife, I'll go off, I'll get the results. We'll come back and we'll take these 10, 15 kids to pizza and bowling and doing what we're doing. Anyway, I walk into the room where I'm about to get my results, and there's like a panel of people that I sort of thought, maybe this isn't quite going the way that I thought. Anyway, the doctor sat me down and said, we found some anomalies, and you've got what's known as, she gave me the technical term, and I still to this day don't even know it. But basically bone cancer, where my white blood cell count was through the roof and quite dangerous. So we're going to start you on some chemotherapy drugs, some chemotherapy treatment, and then see how it goes. Now, I'd lost a couple of friends or people I knew, maybe 3 people, within previous 2 years to cancer. And they'd all followed the same path. They'd got treatment. Oh, everything's great. And then they'd killed the cells so hard in their body that after 2 years, they all disappeared. So in my head, I'd kind of had this story that, God, I'm going to go down the same route. So my awareness, I guess, started, and I was like, there's got to be another way. I've got to be creating this. I don't know what it is. And then I just looked the other day, and it was the 20th of August that I joined Bob's program. So it was around about the 19th of August, so a couple of weeks later, this advert pops up on Facebook. He's a wily old gentleman. I'd never seen him, heard of him before or anything. And I remember the hook, and it said, "Your way's not working. Why don't you try mine?" And I was like, that's pretty, I'm going to listen to what this guy says. And I listened to what he said, watched one of his videos, and was like, right, he knows something I don't know. I want to know more. I joined his first program. I did that for a year. That wasn't with Bob. That was with his team. And then, that first program wasn't with Bob. That was with his team. Then we had like Q&A calls with him. And I said, look, this is what I've got. And he said, Leigh, you're causing this. And I was like, he was so convincing. And he said, what are you holding on to? And he asked me what I was holding on to. Dad, he says, you need to let go. You need to let that go. And I've been, like a lot of males do, we hold on to stuff because we think it's a badge of honor and
Yeah,
nothing.
Sub it down.
Nothing like, there was no major trauma that had happened in my life. But there was probably some childhood trauma that made me go more, I've got to figure everything out on my own. I've got to hold on to all of this. Anyway, I started to basically visualize what I wanted out of life. The visualization that I was primarily doing was I wanted to play football with my kids. So one of the days where I wasn't great, we were in the garden playing, and I'm competitive with them, enough to push them, but not so competitive that it's... Anyway, I just couldn't go. I was doubled over, and I remember the boys running around me. Come on, Dad, what's up with you? Are you giving up? And I literally couldn't go anymore. And that whole thought process of even the word giving up just doesn't come into my psyche. So I was like, I've got to do something here. Anyway, I started to visualize, feeling great, playing football with my kids, rolling around in the fresh cut grass. The first few months, nothing was really happening. But I was determined. I was doing gratitude every day. I was studying the material that he had. Then all of a sudden, when I was having these blood tests, the results started to improve. Now, I started the treatment in the September, and in the November, which was my birthday, I stopped the drug treatment. I never told the doctors. I just thought, I don't...
So 11 months in, you stopped.
Sorry, no. Literally 2 months in.
Oh, okay.
2 months in. So I started with Bob in the September. So I found out in August, started with Bob and his group at the end of August, asked Bob the question in late August, early September. And then by November, I'd gone, I'm doing this work and I'm starting to notice that there's another way. I'm going to stop the drug. And I went into the kitchen and the drug was making me sleepy and And my wife was like, you're not enjoying this, are you? I said, no. She goes, why don't you stop? I already have. She goes, I knew you would. The only thing is, if what you're doing doesn't work, you're going to have to get back on. And naturally, she had some fear. So it's usually the people around you that it's harder for, whereas I was so focused that this is the way. Anyway, I started to feel good. Over each month, I was having blood tests. The blood test results were coming down. Heading to the following year, February, March, April, I'm starting to really get better. And I'm thinking, I feel good. I'm not 100% certain what's actually going on here, and all of a sudden my energy's up. So I'm playing football with my boys and being a present husband and father. And then an opportunity comes along where my boys' football coach had to move away. So he couldn't coach them anymore. And all the parents were like, Leigh, you're the perfect person for it. You've kind of been helping out anyway. So when they talk about manifestation and it says, I was only visualizing really me rolling around playing football with my boys. Lo and behold, I get this opportunity to become their coach and play with them Tuesday, Saturday, Sundays. That was 6 years ago. So not only did I get one of the most rewarding gifts from it, I got to spend more time with them and play. So again, even though my actual visualization wasn't coaching them in football, I've ended up with something better. And I still get to play with them as well. So once that opportunity comes, I'm coaching them. I go in 11 months later, I have a blood test and they say, you're in remission. And I'm like, I've got something to tell you. And I said, I haven't been taking the drug since November last year. And they were shocked by it. And the doctor was a feisty Eastern European woman and she let me have it a bit. And I just said, look, I'm grateful for everything you've done. I'm grateful for all the tests and the stuff that you support me with, but this was a way that I chose. And it's truthfully, it's baffled me. I don't, it's worked. And that was the beginning of the journey, really, where I sort of went, wow, if you can do this with your health, what about the other areas of your life? And that's the journey that I've been on now for the last 5 years. And I never felt better in my health, physical, mental, emotional, and you could even say spiritual. And I'm not deeply spiritual, but I pay attention to it for sure. My relationships, like with my kids, even though they were good, they're like thriving to a different level now with my wife, with the people around me, and also what I do in business. So, and I apply the same principles that I learned through that.
It's amazing, man. Dude, that's so cool. Thank you. That's a gift, man. Just know for the next like 20 years or more, I don't know. Yeah. I'll be doing this a lot longer than 20 years. So for a long time, you're going to be hearing me telling this story.
Appreciate it. And it is,
Yeah.
it's a gift, definitely. Out of what could have been for a lot of people, and I still get it, still, some people still come to me and just go, I can't believe like what happened. And I can't believe you handled it the way you did. And I don't know, there was something inside of me that just knew there was something else. To actually then go and apply it and it work and see the outcome, I think has shocked a lot. A lot of my family still struggle to get their head around it because they're very
Yeah.
old school ways. But that's, yeah,
It's like that Napoleon Hill quote that I've heard you reference, like in times of crisis, a man is introduced to his other self. And it not only applies to like, getting our shit together, getting results, but also this, you know, infinite component of our being that we can tap into to do really incredible and miraculous things. So
and what I would say as well is you don't necessarily have to have a life threatening circumstance. It can be anything that you're dealing with where the feelings, the thoughts and the feelings are anger, frustration, emotion, whatever, anything that's like that. Somebody that I was talking to yesterday was, all of a sudden I've become frustrated and negative, and something is making you spiral that way. You want to be looking, okay, what's the opposite of that? How can I if I'm going to put energy into something, let's put energy into that side rather than this. And that skill I never had prior.
yeah, what that reminds me of is Proctor's quote. Most people don't get what they want because they're too mentally and emotionally involved in what they don't want. And so you learned how to just shift your focus and stay committed to this new conviction you had. Like, I am healthy, positive vibration, good state of mind, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. And even now, as I keep trying to grow, I still hit those upper limits where my brain and my body wants to go, okay, let's protect you here.
Hmm.
And I can feel it when it does it. The only difference now is I go, okay, I know what you're doing. Right. What's the opposite of that? And what can I focus on? And sometimes, don't get me wrong, that's challenging because it's pushing my paradigm, my conditioning. But because I've got a life example and life experience too many times, I'm like, okay, let's just go through the process.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful for learning that from him. Forever grateful.
Yeah. I mean, man, I can't tell you how many times a day, whether or not I'm even listening to Bob, I just have moments where I'm just like, man, I'm so glad that people like you existed, and he's just one of many great teachers throughout history that I feel like have just done their best to share such a powerful message. And so I love hearing like a real example. And I also love that your example, obviously it's tied into like finances and all this other stuff, family now, but what a really powerful example. Instead of just, oh, I made a shit ton of money, it's like, no, that's not even the best thing. Like that's just one of the things. You know what I'm saying? So
The feeling of life is the greatest thing.
mm,
Like even just the way I get a feeling of interacting with people. I've always enjoyed interacting with people. And I've also, one of the things I learned from Bob was to protect me and my time and my mind. So he gave me an example where he used to have a 10-minute rule. And basically, if somebody was spiraling into negative energy or whatever that was, then he could give them the time and the space because he was very good at giving time to people. But if they got to that, he would say, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry," and check his watch. Okay. Now, I used to give everybody too much time. Big serial giver because it was basically for my own ego. As in, I didn't know it at the time, but I wanted everybody else to feel great and wasn't filling my own cup. Now I use that 10 minute because I can't help everybody, whereas in the
mhm.
past I thought I could. However, the people that do come to me that do want help, generally I don't have to do that with them.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, that was another great thing that he gave me because now I don't allow it to impact me and make me split.
Yeah, that's huge. I'd love to ask, just to clarify, if we were to talk more of like process. So it
Mhm.
sounds like, and I'm just going to paraphrase what I heard, and I want you to fill in the gaps in your own words. So what I heard is that you had this, life altering diagnosis. You had an oh shit moment, and you had two paths. The traditional route, which is the safe, effective, whatever version. But then you had these people in your life you had seen go down that road, and you're like, that's not for me. I don't want to end up, passing away or getting very weak and sick and so on. And then you had this other path, which didn't logically make sense, but you had a deep internal feeling. And at first, it wasn't even Bob. It's just you just had a feeling, I need to go this way. And as you started to walk that path, you began to attract the people, the circumstances, the opportunities that gave you clarity as to why that feeling was there in the first place. And in the process, you began to learn about the mind. So it's like you had these ideas come into your consciousness about who you are, who you really are, what you're capable of, how things actually work. And then through that, we're given processes to actually put those things into action and now reap the results. So I'd love to hear maybe if you were talking to your past self, what was like the 3 or 4 steps that you went through for this transformation?
Yeah, sure. Good question and good summary. Um, First and foremost, it was awareness. So being aware of what the thoughts and feelings I have in any situation or circumstance. So in particular, if it's connected to something from the past, like, okay, I'm living in that past thought and feeling, and that's impacting and affecting what I'm doing right now. So awareness is definitely stage one for me or for anyone. Um, and even in my day to day life now, when things come up and they challenge my paradigm, I'll go, okay, first step is what am I aware of? What's happening here? What are my thoughts and feelings around this? And then am I going into fear mode or protection mode? And is that expansive or contractive? And the majority of the time, the immediate reaction would be constrictive or contractive. Yeah. At that point is where I then go, right, now you've got the awareness. What's the thought that you have to have first? And it's the other side, which is the faith and belief, not faith, religious faith, as in
Mhm.
faith that the outcome is going to work out. Because again, bearing in mind, is this life threatening example that I've got. And literally the moment they told me, I remember my brain not even going, oh my God, you're going to die, or this. It literally, in that room, within 2 to 3 seconds, I'm going to figure this out.
Mm.
I didn't know the how. And that, again, is probably the next step. So once you've kind of gone, okay, you've got the awareness that you're feeling, your thoughts and your feelings are this. What is the desired outcome? Okay, no matter what it is, I want perfect health. I want to coach my kids' football. I want to help loads of people in business. I want to have great relationships with the most important people around me. I want to spend time in the school holidays with my kids, whatever it is. That's my desire. Okay, the how will show its way when you take a step in that direction. In the past, I wanted to know all of the steps before I would do it. Now I just take the step. What is the step that I can take today? So another couple of examples I've got, going back to when I first practiced this, I wanted to take my family on an amazing trip to go to Australia and see my extended family. Now, we'd done trips before, but I wanted this one to be like going to Bali, do some adventures. I want to stay in this hotel because it's got water slides and we're going to be fed all day and da da. And at the time, I'd never thought like that. I was like, okay, let's practice the process and see. And as it got closer towards the date of having to make the execution, I didn't have the funds there to do it. And then, sure enough, the deal lands in the door, the payment comes through, and it's right in time for me to execute on it. And I was told that would happen. I didn't believe it, truthfully, but I was like, I'm stepping in and going to see what happens. So again, now I don't worry too much about the how. I just kind of, and even if you think of the cancer situation, I didn't know the how. It was like, just take the steps where you can, keep moving forward, keep practicing and almost seeing yourself in that reality before it happens. So first step, the awareness. The second step will be the desire of what it is you want, what the outcome is that you want. The third step is don't worry about the how, just take the step from where you can with what you've got. And then the final step will be that faith and belief. So the belief that it is going to work out. And even if you don't get the outcome that you don't want, it's a lesson that you're getting right there, and it's going to be probably something better. Yeah, so I might be, for instance, I don't know, wanting to grow a coaching business so that I can help more people, but actually I'm not getting that result as fast as I would like to manifest it. Okay, why is that? What are the lessons you get? Actually, there's some more learning you got to do before you can do that. Or actually, that's not the path that's going to best suit you. It's just slightly off from that, but you've got to keep your awareness open and see what that is. Just keep taking the step and moving forward. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna, in my own words, repeat back what you said because I'm actually writing this down as you're saying it. So step one is awareness. It's being aware of the current and habitual thoughts and feelings that a person is having or that you are having, and then understanding how that's impacting your state, your overall energy, as well as your behavior. And then realizing you can control that. So then transmuting that, saying, okay, what is the polarity or the opposite of this thing that actually aligns with the attitude, the thoughts, feelings, and actions, and the outcomes that I actually want. And then choosing to focus on that and step into that. From that place, then take inspired action. So don't worry about the how, but act based on this new state and your conviction and this new desire or this current desire that you have. And then from there, maintain. So reinforce with visualization, your awareness, your action. Basically, just maintain focus on this. And anytime you get off, repeat that process. Awareness, transmute it to something higher and better, continue to act and move forward, and stay in that state of faith. Does that pretty much summarize it?
Yep. So if you want, do you want me to share you a story where I taught someone else this process? Because I think this will.
Yeah.
So it's great hearing my stories and my successes. But you're like, okay, well, how does this apply for someone else? So my eldest son was had a relationship. It fell apart. He was early 20s, so he's still young. Had another relationship. It fell apart. But this particular relationship, he fell pretty hard from. And it's the first one ever he's fallen from like that. And we were having a discussion. And so I took him through that process. I said, okay, first and foremost, awareness that you've got this challenge and what it is. Okay, what's your desire? Okay, what's the type of person you would like to have a relationship with? And at the time, he couldn't answer that because he didn't know. So I said, okay, write down on a piece of paper all of the things about your previous relationships that you don't like. So he was very quick to do that, which a lot of people do. And I said, okay, now write the opposites. So if you think about focused on the negatives, see them clearly, focus on the positives, you can't see them, just do like you said, the polar opposite. So he started doing a load of the polar opposites to the things he wanted. So, okay, now when you're making decisions and you're meeting people, do they fit that criteria? So within, I don't know, a month of us doing this sort of exercise, I'd asked him how he was going. He goes, funnily enough, the other night, or the last couple of weeks, I've had some interaction with some females and they don't fit that. And I was like, okay, so what did it make you do it? He goes, oh, I was still nice and we chatted, but I just sort of went, no, that's not. And he said, in the past, I would have just jumped in, whereas this made me go. I said, how did that make you feel? He said, actually, pretty empowered. Fast forward probably another 2 or 3 months, he meets this girl. They're getting on great. He's taking it easy because he's a little bit cautious. They go away on holiday. And he comes back. I said, how was your holiday? He said, oh, fantastic. We saw this start. I said, okay, now how was really a holiday? I said, how you're in an environment with one person. And he said, do you know what the crazy thing was? I said, what? He said, I had an amazing time. We got on incredibly. She dropped me home after the airport. And I walked into my bedroom, and on the side was that piece of paper that we'd done 6 months previous. And he said, I hadn't looked at it for so long. He said, but then I looked at it and went, holy shit, like she had pretty much most of those things on that other side. Now, he's still young. They're both young. They're still in a relationship now. This is more than 12 months later now. But that particular exercise was a relationship version of it working.
Mm.
And you said earlier, it's a gift. It was a gift to me initially. I now get to give that gift to my children.
Mm.
And that's one for him in relationships. My other two, they've just completed over here in the UK called GCSE Year 10 and kind of went through the same process with them. So they had no stress. They knew that everything was, and bearing in mind, one of them was being really challenged at the time. He wasn't doing passing in maths. He spent 6 months, chipped away, didn't know the how, but just chipped away at it, and then ended up getting a really great result. So when you get to give these, and I'm not a preacher to my kids or anything like that, but I give them the gift of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you see them apply it and then them be lighter because of applying it, and then a result come because of it, you kind of just go, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I can see why you want to share it with more people, because it's just fascinating.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful. It reminds me of the quote from I think it's Joseph Murphy. The great secret of men, or the secret of great men of all ages, is their ability to contact and release the powers of their subconscious mind. And that's really what the essence of this is like we're unaware our whole life that we have this amazing gift that's been given to us, and we don't even know. It's like it's the most magical thing, and we don't even know how to use it. And the thing is as you experienced with the cancer initially, we're always using it, but most people are using it for the wrong things and they don't even know. Proctor would like to say, you can't get out of a prison if you don't know you're in one. And most people are in a prison of their own design with their current circumstances. But I think what you proved, and even with your sons, the dating example and the test example is like, and even your cancer diagnosis, like when you recognize like, oh shit, I'm creating things that I don't want, to an extent, you have to use those circumstances to bring awareness, but then let go of them and stop using those as the reference point. You have to go inside, as you said, and create that. And I added to your process, I wrote a little 5-step checklist. After awareness is actually desire, which is to identify or reconnect to the burning desire, which is what you actually want. And that brings clarity to, okay, now what is the energy I need to shift into? Or as Earl Nightingale called it, attitude, the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions that actually align with what I want. And I think it's really powerful that Your sons are pretty young. If I remember correctly, the one's playing football is what you call it in the
Yep.
UK.
They've just turned 16. So
Yeah.
they've
So
kind of been around this since they were 11. They didn't know anything about my cancer journey until they were maybe 13 or 14. I just
mhm.
chose not to tell them, especially, my oldest couldn't not know because he was 18, I guess. Yeah, 18 at the time. But he knew, like, he was like, I know you were going to figure this out. I know. So when I say he didn't get emotional, like, in a way, his energy was really helpful because he was like, yeah, I know you.
Yeah, helps you be more convicted. And I even think it's cool that your wife as well was like, "Hey, why don't you just?"
And she was frightened, like, and naturally you do, because again, like I said, because I was so focused and knew where I was going, it was easy for me to just discount the emotion with it. Whereas someone else, where it's unknown, they can't do anything. They are not in your head. They can't do it, and that applies in health. In your health, it's only you. You can decide what goes in your body. You can decide what thoughts, feelings, and actions you take. Yes, some people can influence it, but that's up to you if you let that happen.
Mhm.
It's all on you. Health. Relationships involve other people. A little bit more challenging. Business involves a lot more people, so even a bit more challenging because until you find your people, which again, I would never have done this work if I wasn't with my back against the wall. That's the reality. Because I was conditioned, truthfully, probably to not believe it, or it was woo hoo. I'd listened to Tony Robbins tapes in the car when I was younger for motivation or whatever, but this is different. Yes, his stuff's great. I enjoy some of the work he does, but this is
I have a few thoughts related to your Tony Robbins comment. I was listening to Bob Proctor's Born Rich seminar series this week, actually, and he talked about that. He said at the time of recording that seminar, I don't even know what year it was, but he's like, you'll not find a higher quality program out there. And here's why. Because I'm not teaching you little tactics and strategies or cute little sayings or things to try or do. I'm explaining to you how these things actually work, like at the deepest level, or in some variation of that's how he said it. And I think that's not knocking on other teachers or gurus, so to speak, out there, but that's what I love about Bob is his ability to simplify these things so anybody could understand them. Um, the other thing I was going to say, hmm, honestly, it slipped my mind. Um,
it'll come back. Yeah,
yeah,
so it'll come back.
yeah, for sure. Well, no, I just want to say thank you. If you have any other thoughts, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'd love to
That's fine.
have you
If you've
share.
got any other questions, ask. If you want me to. So after I did his sort of year-long program, I then joined his mastermind, and that was right up until he passed away. So he was still coaching me the week before he passed away in a group setting, but it was more intimate. It was with him. We'd study Born Rich. We'd apply it. Blah 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 blah. And the morning of him passing, and bearing in mind, I'm not an overly emotional person. Not because I hide it or whatever. It's just the way I am. It's probably conditioned from being a kid. Da da da. Anyway, on the morning of him passing, like we all knew he wasn't well, but to still be teaching the week before, you kind of think he's still got at least a month, maybe two, maybe three, you know. And something inside me just went, right, write him a letter, and I've still got it. So I wrote this letter, and this emotion was just pouring out of me. And I'm thinking, this is weird because um, I haven't cried like this for a long time. And he knew how I felt because I'd said, but I'd said it in little bits where it was almost like I needed to bring it all together. Here's my full story. Here's everything that's gone. Here's the journey, and I got it all on paper. And I just want to express my gratitude. And my objective was, I'm going to send this off to him. So say, I think it was a Thursday. In my head, it was a Thursday. The Thursday morning in the UK, I'm writing this letter, outpouring all this emotion. By the afternoon, we get a message that he's passed away. I was like, whoa, why in the same day? Why did all of this? And it did feel to me like it was you've been given this gift by me, now carry it on.
Mm.
I don't know how you're going to use it, but it's not a passing of the buck. I didn't want to think like that. It was like you've lived it, you've experienced it. Go out there now and help others. That's effectively the journey that I've been on.
Yeah, be an advocate for this information. Be an example of it, honestly. That's the other thing. You're a walking, talking billboard for the power of
Thank you.
the subconscious mind. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think it's incredible. I
So
don't
what about
remember
you? Tell me about
what's
you.
that.
Tell me about you.
Yeah,
What's been going on? What are you feeling? What are you
real quick, I just want
challenges?
to say, if it's okay with you, I was planning on potentially chopping this up into some content because I'd love to get this message out there. So if that's the case, we can keep rolling. We'll keep conversating, but just want to keep it in that context. Yeah, so I just maybe share a little bit about how I found this information and why I've decided to dedicate my life to, like I say, becoming Bob's successor of sorts. I think this generation needs a leader to step up and be the voice for this information and to really champion this. And that's what I'm doing. So I haven't talked to you, Leigh, for probably like 2 months now. So a lot has happened in that time period. But first, I'd like to share, yeah, my story. And I've actually been, just for context for anybody watching this after the fact, Leigh is a advertising guru. He's like my advertising mentor. And so he's been along my process as I'm building this business and trying to figure my shit out. But yeah, besides the point, I I have lately, that's what I was going to say, been going through and writing out my life story so I can really articulate it better to my target audience and to my people, right? As I make YouTube videos and write ads or copy, be able to actually connect to my story because I know as I put words to that, that's going to connect and resonate with other people, similar to Bob's ad that caught your attention. Your way isn't working. Why don't you try mine? And so lately, as I've been writing newsletters and making YouTube videos and stuff like that, I've been going back and reflecting on my journey, like finding this information. And the thing that I like to talk about is that I don't like, I didn't commit my life to this and I don't study this every day. And I haven't been learning this every, like pretty much daily for the last 10 plus years because I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. It's because I, like you, had to. Like, I basically had a crossroads as well in my life of like, if I don't figure my shit out and take this into my own hands, like I'm going to end up dead or very, very destructive for myself and other people. And I'll give you some context, Leigh, so you understand my story. So growing up, I grew up in some pretty, like, I could say interesting circumstances. And it led me to experience a lot of really like hard and crazy, taboo, strange shit as a young, kid at a young age. And by the time I was 16, my brother had overdosed on heroin and ended up passing away. And leading up to that, life had just been like a whirlwind, like witnessing and experiencing sexual, mental, physical, emotional abuse, people doing drugs, and just seeing some of the darkest aspects of humanity manifest in people around me doing like crazy shit. And so when my brother died, it really like woke me up and I realized like this shit is real. Like number one, life is temporary and like I may not have long. And number two, like I actually have a tattoo in my chest for this and I did a little emotional thinking about it. Like I can't let his death be for nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like that just gave me so much purpose of like, he has to live through me now. And I have to basically make my life experience mean something because if I don't, I'm going to end up like him or I'm going to end up like the people who had hurt me as a kid. And, as they say, hurt people hurt people. So I knew that I would end up becoming very destructive. So it started off with studying like Tony Robbins and, business gurus like Grant Cardone. I also like one of my role models is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can't see it, but I've got like a poster up above me of his. And I started to learn about this, like, the mind and just like the power human beings have in general. And I really love Arnold Schwarzenegger's life story, particularly because his whole thing was like he came from nothing and ended up accomplishing more in his lifetime than most people ever would, like in one chapter in their entire life. And what he talked about is this idea of vision, of like he basically found and then created this blueprint for his life and then committed to it like a madman and visualized it and was so delusional and convinced himself and eventually everyone else around him that he would actually do what he's setting out to do. And then he did. And so initially for me, that was make money because I was like, that's the way I can get away from my family and like figure my shit out and kind of free myself. And then at a young age, I was, it's all subjective, but based on my circumstances growing up with people around me, I was making a lot of money. I was making around a quarter million a year by the time I was 22. And uh, that aspect was taken care of, but things were very chaotic. I had a lot of personal issues like substance abuse, pornography addiction, was just disconnected from myself, kind of just fucked up in general. And ended up having a relationship like so you're talking about your son with breakups, right? I had a girl I was with from the time I was 14 until 23, and we ended up breaking up, and it just like it killed me because up until then that was like my purpose, like
Mm.
this relationship, and we both had very rough upbringings, and so it felt like we were like running away from it together, but we ended up just recreating it together. So when our relationship ended, it just brought all of my childhood shit to the surface and made me realize like again, like my brother's death, that was another crossroads. Like I have to figure this out or I got to check out because I can't keep doing this. Like I cannot continue to like experience this chaos and perpetuate these cycles. And yeah, and so then I went deep, even deeper than I ever had before. It became like it started was like self-improvement or personal development. Very different than like what you talk about with cancer, like this is life or death. Like I either figure this out or I check out. And for you as cancer, for me it was suicide. It's like I'm gonna kill myself if I don't do something about this. And in the process, yeah, found Bob Proctor, Neville Goddard, Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, like a lot of these OGs that I had heard and maybe like dabbled in, but I started to really hear what they were saying and also had like a spiritual awakening of sorts. Um, and yeah, through that process, experimented on myself and just transformed so much in a matter of a couple of years. Discovered my purpose, and as you said, like you kind of just have that feeling, you go for it, and the path will start to reveal itself. And now that's turned into this, which I could never like. Half the shit I'm doing now, or talking about, or the person that I am, if you would have told me a couple of years ago, I would have been like, it would have been nuts. Like I would not have understood why or how. And so yeah, I just want to thank you, Leigh, because yeah, you've really been an inspiration for me on both sides, not only like business and just like man to man, but also for this work. Because as I step into this role and like this mission more, it's just so yeah, it just gives me so much conviction, because sometimes you tell people about these things, oh, that's woo woo, like, but I'm like, no, like this shit is the most important thing in my opinion because it is what allows people to not be a victim of circumstance or themselves and to step into what I feel like we were truly made to be, which is creators, not victims, not, prisoners, not weak, but yeah, independent, sovereign, and powerful creators. And so you're a really great example of that. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Great
Yeah.
to hear a deeper version of your story too, because it does lead you to here. It is challenging to um, go from, say, a level of success in business to go, which is an external product, to go into a level of success and helping as many people as you can with an internal product, because you've got to shift people's beliefs, or they've got to be up against something where they, like you and I, that crossroad, I got to make a decision here. And
Mhm.
you either go on your own and try and figure it out, which I don't recommend, because usually when you come up against a paradigm or a condition or a circumstance that is your upper limit, you're going to struggle. And you need someone in your corner to just give you that. It's going to work out.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
Here's a step. Yeah. So even what you're doing here by reaching out to me is helping both of us, which is you're surrounding yourself with people that understand it. And then that allows you to go, right, I've got a bit of energy again. I'll keep that in mind over the next week or two or month or three when actually this is quite challenging. Because the reality, I've coached people in business all week this week, and even though they've got an external product, all of them have got challenges. Like, and they don't want them, but that's teaching them to grow. The only difference is some of them don't have the skills that you get from this work. A big portion of the others that I do coach have these skills. So you start to see them applying it in their life and then things happening and them going, okay, even though that was a challenging period, I know what's happening now. Okay, let's repeat it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting thing is that like you in your story and even myself and anybody watching this, like this takes time, not only to understand, but to master, so to speak, because you might have spent 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years being this person with this paradigm, as Proctor called it, or subconscious program or conditioning. And now you're deciding to go against it essentially. And these tools are very powerful, but it's a process. Like you're always going to deviate back to, the default, which for most people is destructive versus, this new ideal that you've created. And I just maybe want to summarize what we talked about today. I love quotes, as you can tell. They're so great to summarize ideas. But I can't remember whose quote this is. I think it's James Allen. Um, your circumstances may be your circumstances may be uncongenial, meaning not good right now, but they will not long remain so if you create an ideal for yourself and commit to it, basically, right? And so exactly what you said, this process of visualizing you in good health, playing, soccer or football with your kids, and these experiences, like now look, that's just one aspect of your success in this really beautiful story that you shared. So thank you.
pleasure, mate. Pleasure. Loved it. Great speaking to you. And great to see you again. Keep up
Yeah,
the good work.
thank you. Real quick, so just for the people watching this, I'm going to probably post this on YouTube. Leigh, what do you do and how can they find you if they want to also work with you for advertising support?
Appreciate it. Go to leighwoolard.com. So it's LEIGHWOOLARD.com. I don't tend to do a lot of the advertising straight up. It's more working with a business owner or somebody like me to take them through this process so they understand it, and then we apply some of the business stuff.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lee's the man. I've seen him help one of my mentors go from like I don't know what was Max's thing from like around 1 million to 2.5 million in under 12 months.
80K a month to 220 a month.
Yeah. So
But monetary wise, he had some spiritual understanding in the background. So, again, what I mean by that is it's the impact now that he's making and helping others. That's what we're aiming for. It's not the monetary value because it doesn't matter at that point. It's
it's
more
just
about you might only be one of the greatest impacts that I've had is with my kids. You cannot put a price tag on that. And I've got it for the rest of my life. That is way more important to me than the financial reward that comes out of doing business. However, it's really good when you get to see somebody go through the process and impact other people's lives and make other people better, no matter what.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Well, I'll put your links in the description. Thank you, Leigh. So good to catch up with you, my friend. And yeah, thank you for anybody who watches this. It's a great story.
Wishing you well. Take care.
Yeah, much love, man. Talk soon.